Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastubha Das. Welcome to the show. This is episode 14,007. 1407. That's good. 1407. I'm here live with Miss Mara, spinning the dials, giving us our 411. How are you, Mara? What's going on today?
Good morning. Getting ready for our chant camp.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Columbia County Fair and the Smash Up Derby, which is also tonight. My favorite time of year. Favorite holiday season here in Columbia County, the Smash Up Derby. Real it's a real American sport, Kastubha. It's like, I don't even think other countries understand what we do. Try to explain that to like a South Indian Brahmin. Well, we take old cars and we crash them into each other and we cheer.
It's pretty Tamasic.
It's pretty Tamasic.
It's about the definition of Tamas. This is like pure
It's
destruction.
so fun.
Joy and destruction.
I've been bringing my kids to the Smash Up Derby every year. I'm going to try to drag Bali into my Tamasic joy because Bali and Dunya come in today. Okay. Mara, yes, chant camp is happening.
Also, today's the last day for Sage Group registration. It was extended, but this is the final day for signing up. If you want to sign up for a second Sage Group, you can do that if there's one available.
What about a third Sage group?
I don't know.
Who would dare?
Nicest message. Where's my phone? I got the nicest message today.
You go to wisdomofthesages.com to sign up for that. Also, join Wisdom of the Sages for our spiritual pilgrimage to sacred India, October 17th through 31st. We're exploring the holy cities of Jodhpur, Udaipur, Nathwar, Rishikesh, Haridwar, Govardhan, Vrindavan. You can go to raghunath.yoga or wisdomofthesages.com to sign up for that. Learn more.
Jodhpur is known to be a very beautiful place.
Yeah, I've never been there before. Have you been there, Kastu?
No, I haven't.
It's been on my bucket list. They call it the Blue City.
Yeah, it's like blue and white, everything.
Can I read something I just got this morning? Because I always get these. Sometimes I get these Instagram messages from these Instagram handles that don't really explain who the person is, and then sometimes you go to their profile and you still can't figure out who this person is. So this guy sends me like messages all the time, and the name is like drilled in my mind.
Larry, Landlocked Larry.
Yeah, Landlocked Larry. Landlocked Larry, exactly. And I was like, I thought he might just be some old weird Youth of Today fan that just writes me, because I get a lot of, and I get this message today. It says, Harry Bull, I'm from Arizona. I'm not from the hardcore scene. I have been a hardcore other since 2020, since your appearance on Joe Rogan. I've been hooked since, every podcast since, and several of them doubled up. A Sage Group platform member, a platform member, and a merch wearing devotee. I recently have been he's all in, Landlocked Larry. I recently have been able to make my way into the Facebook Live what's FB Live community? Facebook Live community. Oh, on the weekends. Oh, so it goes on the weekends. All right. Okay. From day one, I have been hooked. The deep dive into my bhakti life is what my life was missing. Yet feeling the practice my entire life, not knowing my feelings and way of life always lined up right up with the bhakti practice. What a gift. Like so many, I'm truly grateful our paths took us to the Rogan podcast. My life has not been the same since. With a few professional adjustments, I am working my way towards a spiritual retreat and a Super Soul Farm retreat. Forever grateful and to many more memories, my friend, Hare Krishna. They're beautiful.
Larry.
Landlocked Larry. Boom.
Where do you think he's from?
He's still sort of mysterious.
He's from
From
Nebraska,
Arizona.
maybe. Something
No,
like
Arizona.
Oh, Arizona's
Arizona.
landlocked, I suppose.
Yeah, how sweet. Yeah, I guess Arizona is landlocked, isn't it? I gotta look at a
It's
map.
important that this all fit together.
The puzzle's coming together.
All right.
What's up with you? Good?
Yeah, I'm ready to get into the show.
Okay. Our nugget today is from E.F. Schumacher.
Do you know who E.F. Schumacher is?
No, I don't. Never heard of
Sounds
him.
like a fascinating man.
He's a fascinating man.
Yeah, Ernst Friedrich Schumacher, CBE, was a British statistician and economist who is best known for his proposals for human scale, decentralized, and appropriate technologies.
Hmm.
In his 1995, his 1973 book Small is Beautiful, a study of economics as if people mattered, was ranked by the Times Literary Supplement as one of the 100 most influential books published since World War II. In 1977, he published A Guide for the Perplexed as a critique of materialistic scientism and as an exploration of the nature and organization of knowledge. Uh, he was, I just did a little reading. He seemed like a fascinating man. He was some kind of refugee from Germany during World War II, and he was being held in some kind of internment camp in England or in Great Britain. And he wrote a paper on economics that was just so revolutionary that, what's his name? Maynard Keynes, like this most important economist. Just
I'm not brushed up on my economic
okay. Well, in any
heroes.
case, he was, he said, "My God, this guy's incredible." They pulled him out of the internment camp and put him to work, and apparently he had a lot to do with like reviving the economies of both England and Germany after World War II. But what I get from him, he had an interest in Buddhism, he had an interest in Catholicism, deep spiritual interests, and I could see, he was looking at the world as an economist, looking at the resources
Hmm.
and realizing that we don't have a mature approach. We don't have a well thought out approach to life here. It's not sustainable, it's not intelligent. So this quote is an interesting one, I thought.
VR on the message board says it's Keyn- Key-
Keynesian.
Keynesian economics.
Keynesian, I suppose.
She knows.
Keynesian, yeah.
Okay. Here's what he says: an attitude to life which seeks fulfillment in the single-minded pursuit of wealth, in short, materialism, does not fit into this world because it contains within itself no limiting principle, while the environment in which it is placed is strictly limited.
Hmm.
Let me read that again.
Okay.
An attitude to life which seeks fulfillment in the single-minded pursuit of wealth, in short, materialism, does not fit into this world because it contains within itself no limiting principle, while the environment in which it is placed is strictly limited.
We last week, I think it was, that we read this letter. Maybe it was the week before, I forget. We read a letter from Srila Prabhupada, who was writing to a disciple. And the disciple obviously had some complaints about the circumstances, the situation that he's in, the temple, how things were going there, who was doing what, etc.
Right.
And Srila Prabhupada he addressed the issue, but he just tried to take that person up to a higher level. In other words, it's not all about changing the environment. It's about how you are prepared to adapt to the environment. So he said a Vaishnava, right, a Bhakti yogi, is one who's able to sit down anywhere, any place, any time, and be satisfied, right? And I think what Schumacher is saying here, Schumacher, I suppose, is that, like imagine if you took a bunch of people and you locked them in a room for a weekend, and I don't know, there was some, I don't know, bag of Doritos in there, right?
Okay.
And if their conception was my only happiness is through eating Doritos, well, then there's going to be a problem in that room, because there's limited resources. Now I'm thinking there's limited happiness. Now I'm going to fight over those resources. I'm going to experience suffering because of the lack of those resources. And essentially, that's the world that we have, because our world is driven by a materialistic paradigm, right? We need oil to get this, to get that. It's like we're if we were able to look at the world in a different way, and when I say the world, I mean if we were able to have a different world view, that happiness is not based off of sense gratification that's attained through wealth.
Mm.
But if we had a different view that was happiness is something that's found within, external things can be reduced, right? The way that he phrased this, he said that and this is a very Bhagavatam-esque kind of statement that he made, that he said, an attitude to life which seeks fulfillment through single-minded pursuit of wealth, in short, materialism, does not fit into this world because it contains within itself no limiting principle. Like, and we often quote that verse from Bhagavatam which says that for one whose senses are uncontrolled, or it says that how does it begin? That
I don't
there's
know.
no
I should
amount.
memorize this one because it's such a good verse. For one who senses uncontrolled.
No, that's where it ends, though. That there's
One who has unlimited desires.
oh, we got to go look it up. As it's living from my mind. But that all that there is to satisfy the senses in this world
Can never
cannot
satisfy
the senses.
For one whose senses are uncontrolled.
Exactly. So we've got no limiting principle. There has to be a limiting principle when it comes to the material realm. If we don't have a self-imposed limiting principle, then we are going to suffer. And what to speak of when you put lots of people that have no material limiting principle, and that's it. And that, this answers a lot of questions about like the idea of spiritual practices, which we have so many misconceptions and so many misapplications of, like regulation in spiritual life, regulation of diet, regulation of sleep, regulation of sex, these things have often been presented to us as like just regulate or minimize, otherwise you go to a dark place of suffering, you go to hell, right?
This completely go on.
Well, whereas in yoga it becomes clear that I'm going to place a limiting principle on my materialistic drives for the sake of peace of mind, which will grant me the ability to enter into, to bring my mind to spiritual thought, right? I'm going to consciously place a limiting principle for a very important purpose. As long as I don't place a limiting principle on my materialistic drives, I will be pulled by the wild horses of my senses. I will go through ups and downs. When I achieve sense gratification, I'll feel very good, elated. And when the inevitable loss of that or burnout of that occurs, then I will go down. My consciousness will go down. I will suffer because of it. So the yogi says, let me place a limiting principle on my materialistic drive, right? That's what marriage is about, right? I'm not going to pursue sex with unlimited people. I'm going to limit it to one person, That's what, dietary restrictions and so on. And when I go to sleep and when I wake up, it's all like a science, a strategy for how to limit my materialistic drive so that they won't interfere with my spiritual pursuit.
And the interesting thing is, by curbing the passions, you get happiness for those who want happiness, and you actually get a doorstep to liberation.
Yeah.
Because it's not liberation, but it's a doorstep to liberation. But first, you got to regulate the senses. So if you just want to be happy in this world, you have to regulate the senses.
Yep.
It's such a mousetrap. It is the unrestricted sense gratification. Whenever there's culture or philosophical groups coming up, you got to be free and indulge the senses. It's like, oh, you silly people. It's so silly. It's like the ABCs of material existence. I call these, explain this to people is I use the verse of Lord Chaitanya, Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim. And so the three dead ends of material existence. And this one is na dunham, right? Type of wealth.
Yeah.
Right. There's no amount of material wealth that will make me feel whole. And what happens is you get a little bit of wealth, and then you think, okay, now what can I do from here? And so You see, even in people who have regulated income, they'll say, okay, this is the house I can get or the apartment I can get. This is the car I can drive. And then they get an increase in that. They increase their car quality. They increase the square footage of their home. And then
Hmm.
they increase, and everything
No
gets a
limiting
little bit,
principle.
right? They keep on expanding it a little bit more. Then they have exorbitant amounts of extra wealth. Okay, what should I do now? And you're thinking, well, what should I do? Maybe it's a boat. Maybe I should have a boat. If I can get a boat, it, we're always trying to find
Yeah.
God in something, some deep
The
fulfillment.
satisfaction that comes with connection
Yeah.
to God.
And then there's some people who have no problem affording a boat. So they'll have a boat. And then they'll find it. Then they'll say, okay, now that I have a boat, what do I do? I sail a lot. And then what else can we do? Well, we can vacation a lot. And it's an ever expanding like labyrinth that will never end. And it's complicating. It's complicating my life because all these things that you get and accumulate need maintenance. And what happens is you find that you can go to the very ends of it. You can have a house here and a house there and a house there. Did you ever say, like, I want a house here? I want a house in Puerto Rico. I want a house in, I love the Northeast. I want a house in the Northeast. And I want a house in Europe. And I want a house in Spain. I want a house in Portugal. And I want to have a house in India. I want a little place in Mayapur. It's like it can go on forever. And
Yeah.
it will never end. And it will never actually give you what you want because you're thinking with your material mind and you're thinking with your material passions. The actual thing that'll make you happy is to recognize I'm a spiritual being and I need God. That's it. And then then God will give you some things. According to your karma, you'll get some things. And you'll be happy with those things. But there's an endless pursuit. If without that knowledge ahead of time, you'll think, well, I'm a material being, and success means to keep going down that path until my senses are finally satisfied. It's not going to happen because you're not a material being. You're a spiritual being. It never ends. You're just going to die with a collection of tons of junk, tons of stuff. And you'll have people trying to rip that stuff out of your hands for their sense gratification. You get followed by people who just want your junk. Oh, even your children. Oh, I hope dad gives.
Some of that junk.
You'll get children who wish your death because they want your stuff
Like a
after you
vulture.
die. Yeah,
You know, they say these vultures, they're just like flying around in a circle over like some animal that's dying down there in the desert. It's like
Just
just waiting
flying
for it to die.
yeah, you'll get you'll get people trying to marry you for your money, you won't even know who your friends are anymore. It's an endless pursuit.
Bhagavatam says, like even the children, the family members can become vultures. They're just waiting for you to die.
Oh, kidding. These kids are the worst. Just historically.
Historically.
Historically. And we think we're being we said this again. I've said this before, but we think we're being benevolent by giving the kids whatever they want or padding them so they don't so they have a completely worry-free life. Guess what? You give a kid a worry-free life and that creates distress. That you think that helps them grow? When they have no worries and no problems to fix.
You're feeding their inner vulture.
Yeah.
You have to feed their inner swan.
Feed their inner swan. Give them nothing.
This Schumacher. What I feel when I only read the Wikipedia thing about him, so I don't really know very much. But it seems to me like he had some spiritual drive, a turn towards Buddhism, a turn towards Catholicism, the deep spiritual essence and the wisdom from these traditions. What an important thing to have people with that kind of insight involved in helping direct our economies and so on. Like, because imagine he's a person, okay, he's in England and World War II has just been won, right? And he's got a role in advising the British government in terms of economics. That was a time, the 40s and then especially going to the 50s, where it was just like, it seems like there was like a pink rosy cloud over everyone that like materialism will satisfy us. like the economy was just booming like crazy.
Woohoo!
And everybody's just recognizing, everybody, there's plenty of employment, there's plenty of money, and all these new, there's cars now.
We're gonna
Everybody can
have
have a car.
babies. We're gonna have to. We can
Everybody can have a
drive
refrigerator. Yeah,
places.
have tons of kids. And we're gonna find happiness in materialism. And by the time the '60s hit in, like the youth were looking at it saying, "This is not real. This is
This is
not moral.
this is a
good."
win.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want
right.
something else.
And so you get a whole backlash, but here's a guy that early on is recognizing, hey, this march into materialism is not going to work out. And even way back then he was saying things like, this is a quote of his: production from local resource. This is just like Prabhupada's first canto commentaries, purports. Production from local resources for local needs is the most rational way of economic life. That's brahminical thought. It's
That's
suffix.
brahminical thought right
Yeah,
there.
yeah. And unfortunately, the flaw of democracy is that to get elected, you need to cater to the materialistic drives of the people. You need to say, I'm going to satisfy your materialistic drives. You can't step up and say, I'm going to place a limiting principle on your materialistic drives. Like nobody's going
Boo!
to. Yeah,
Boo!
but that's actually what.
Fulfill our senses.
Yeah, right. But that's actually what's required. There needs to be an adult in the room, and it sounds like he was an adult in the room. So,
Wow.
anyway, I was impressed with him.
You know what I've been doing, Kostuba? I've just after the Prabhupada's appearance day, I've just all day long yesterday, me and Mara have been listening to these remembering Srila Prabhupada
Look at you
YouTube
guys.
videos all day.
I've also been having that like post
Vyasa Puja.
Post appearance day kind of
Nostalgia.
glow.
Yeah,
Right.
and I tell you, it is the most. I was mowing lawns yesterday. We got a big lawn. I was mowing yesterday, and it was just such a one great story after another.
I've been riding a bike and doing the same thing.
Just listening to Prabhupada, to people glorifying and appreciating their guru. It is the most satisfying thing you can do for your heart. And I was just thinking, I'm so happy right now. I'm just so
So
happy.
mowing
And I
that
remember
lawn.
being a brahmachari when you had no time to do anything else except hear, chant, serve, hear, chant, serve. Like that, you sleep a little and then cold shower and then hear, chant, serve, hear, chant, serve, hear, chant, serve. And that's all you did. And as a householder, you're a little bit more splayed and you dip your toes, if not fully dive into a deep pool of Maya occasionally. But it's like, and you hear chant serve as much as you can. Hear chant serve as much as you can. But dip in Maya. Go to the
Rock 'em,
smash up
sock 'em,
derby.
derby.
Go to the smash up derby tonight.
Can't believe
And
you
then
go
hear
to that.
chant serve a little bit, and then chant camp
You're
weekend.
actually cheering, like
Oh, I
cheering this on?
cheer like hands in the air, like
Oh God.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm ready to drive, get a car, and enter it.
I think maybe that would be a way for you to just vent some of this.
But I would be listening to
pent-up
Prabhupada
energy.
appreciations while I do it.
Yes, there you go.
Like, who's that guy in the middle just parked in peace?
People, I noticed on the chat board, some people are, because somehow in our conversation yesterday, I mentioned that I was listening to a talk that my guru gave back in 1994, where he was reading from, I believe, from Prabhupada Lilamrita, from Prabhupada's biography, and then commenting on it. And hearing that recording just did things in my mind and in my heart that were so satisfying. It was like, it was almost, in some ways, hearing that, I felt like it's almost like, there's all kind of statements about, what is it that Prabhupada wrote that, I wish I could remember the exact quote, but that like, one always lives with their guru. The guru always lives with one who's serving their orders or, remembering them. Something like that. You know the quote I'm thinking of?
No.
And he lives with them. The guru is always living with one. In a sense, I felt like I was in his presence. I guess that's what it was like. I was having a hard time putting it into words, but imagine if there's someone that was very dear and important in your life, and they passed away 20 years ago, almost 25 years ago, and then somehow mystically you were with them again.
Via
And
YouTube.
well, not via you, but well, yeah, via it wasn't YouTube. I was just listening to it, but through sound, yeah, that you could associate with them again, and the feeling is just as profound as if they're standing before you. It was like that for me, and the love that I had for my guru in my heart was really stimulated by it, stoked by it,
Hmm.
and in the particular context of his appreciation of Srila Prabhupada and all the previous acharyas, the previous great teachers in the lineage, to hear him speak is one thing I always really admired about him. If I think, I've had different gurus in my life, I would say two very prominent, and they teach different things. So I was once asked to give a talk. It was one of those pumpkin hollow retreats that we used to do in the summers.
Yeah, it was.
And I was asked to speak on my relationship with these two gurus, with Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami and with Srila Radhanath Swami.
Hmm.
And what I said was one taught through intolerance and one taught through tolerance, right? Like Radhanath Swami is like incredibly tolerant.
Incredibly tolerant.
And my guru was like incredibly intolerant. Intolerant in a in the sense that intolerant for anything that interfered with the carrying out of effective
Yes.
devotional service, in service to Srila Prabhupada and to Krishna. But I
One
always
time I
felt
brought your guru a glass of water. He asked for a glass of water. I brought it to him and he goes, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "How did I do this wrong?"
intolerant, right? Yeah. What did I do this time? Oh, Raghunath froze up on us just as there you go. Yeah, you froze for a second there. Go ahead.
How did I get this wrong? He goes, "Look at it." I was like, "What?" He goes, "There's water dripping down the sides." I was like, "And?" And he goes, "I'm training you
There's still
to
plenty
hack.
inside.
I'm actually, this water's still there." He's like, "I'm training you to act as you would act in the spiritual world serving Krishna with complete focus, clear conscience.
Yeah.
And you're just like, not even thinking. You're living in a world where you're not even thinking what you're doing."
Yeah, if Krishna, if you're bringing water to Krishna, you'd make sure you did it just right.
Perfect. Here
You
you
wouldn't hand
go.
him a
A
cup
big
that's all
sloppy
slippery
wet
from.
wet cup.
Yeah, you do it right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you gotta. He forced you to like use your brain instead of acting like just like some mindless kid.
yeah.
The best is
Well,
when told me he was training me how to make a good raita.
yeah,
And he liked horseradish in his
a
raita.
horseradish. Yeah,
So I went to get it, but the supermarket didn't have any raita. And he said, "Where are the
no
ingredients?"
horseradish.
No horseradish. So he said, "Where are the ingredients?" I go, "They're right here." He goes, "Where's the horseradish?" I go, "They didn't have any."
Horseradish.
Where he goes, "They didn't have any." He goes, "Are you sure they didn't have any?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm sure." He goes, he stopped. He stopped
Then he
like
gives you
the
that
whole
look.
world stopped. And he goes, "Are you absolutely positive they had no horseradish?" And I was like, I
Mm.
realized how much at the time I'm just a speculator. I was like, no, I just didn't see any horseradish. And therefore, I didn't ask. I didn't go to the front desk. "When is your horseradish coming in? Do you have any? Do you actually not have any? Or am I just being lazy and I didn't see any?" And I'm just like, it's good enough. And I realized, no, I'm not absolutely sure. And he just stopped and he goes, "You're a speculator. Do you understand? You're a speculator."
He had a way of trying to like wring out all the disqualification to serve that is within you.
It
You know,
was. But
Like,
down Radhanath Swami would never do that.
no, he wouldn't put you on the spot like that. He would
just
inspire
go.
you in another way. I remember once a similar thing, Raghunath, where I was a very new devotee, new disciple of his, and I had arranged for him to come to Atlanta to speak to a group of brahmacharis, right? So which was kind of like a far out thing. It was like me like affecting his whole schedule and everything. It was like a big
Yeah.
deal. And he arrived in the evening, and it was very special. And at one point, the question came up of his meal. I forget the exact thing, but what was going on. But he said he asked about his meal and when it was going to be
He's
ready,
very specific about his meal.
and I said at a certain point I said, well, we can make puris, or I was giving an excuse about the cooking and the circumstances, and I mentioned puris.
Excuses and speculation didn't fly with him.
Yeah, and puris are like kind of like a flat bread that's like deep fried,
Yeah.
and he said, and then he got in that mood where he was like going to wring out whatever disqualification is in me, right? So he said, how long would it take you to make that? It was a challenge because I said it like it wasn't a difficult thing,
Yeah.
And he said, how long would it take you to do that? And I just kind of casually, like you casually said, yeah, there's nothing in the supermarket. I casually said, oh, 10 minutes.
10
He
minutes.
said,
You're going to make
okay.
a puri. Good luck.
He said, okay, go. Like that. It would probably take me 15 minutes just to gather the ingredients, It was like, okay, go. And 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 uh and I remember right then there was a lady devotee who was like going to take care of the cooking, and she just stepped in and said, "Oh, Goswami Maharaj," and she saved my life. She told us because I was about to be
collapse.
revealed as a complete idiot. That I would come in like 40 minutes later with like a poorly prepared puri, and
You got one of these Gujarati ladies there. They will make those puris in 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Somehow
they
they're
can do it.
already ready. The ghee is on. The dough is ready to be rolled out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So any case,
Spend the
hearing
whole show talking about this.
hearing his voice and hearing him speak in that context,
Yeah.
it was such a sublime feeling just washed all over me. And I continued doing it yesterday. Just like you say, I can just ride my bike and plug in those headphones and listen to that, and it's just like really satisfying.
It's what we were saying the other day is we want to be corrected by people who actually care about us.
Oh,
I felt the thing about Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he gave me the double barrel shotgun a lot.
Yeah.
But I always felt loved. He also gave me tons of love. And it wasn't this weird abusive, you're getting abused by a parent. I never felt that way. I always felt
No, what
this
it
guy
was is
actually loves me. He
you're
actually
part of the
cares.
family, so you
He
need to
wants me to
qualify
grow.
yourself to be part of the family. I'm going to help you do that.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah. And truthfully, at that age of my life, 22 years old, that's what I needed. I needed a father to be on top of me and sand down my rough edges.
Oh,
And
big time.
yeah,
Big time.
it was
Not you, me as well.
no, me big time.
Big time, Ragnar.
I still need it a little bit. But you want it from people. We were talking about living to be corrected. We want to be corrected by people who care about us.
That's right.
Right.
We live for that because
Yeah.
otherwise we never
grow.
we want to become capable of service to Krishna.
Right.
All right. That's our goal.
All right, let's get into the Bhagavatam because this all started for me talking about the joy of listening to Siddhanta Prabhu's remembrances of Srila Prabhupada, which is wonderful. Go to YouTube and listen to it today on your downtime. I listened to Yamuna's sister yesterday. Janaki.
Oh, she had a very special relationship with Prabhupada, didn't she?
Yeah, she had nothing but joyful things to say about Prabhupada. Here we go. We're not getting out of here. Then I listened to Bhakti Tirtha Swamis. Then I listened to Indrajumna Swamis, Jayapatak Swamis. It was so good. Whenever I hear people who sometimes criticize like these leaders within, I just feel like
it's not that they're leaders certainly make mistakes, and even certain leaders became very corrupted in different ways. That may be that.
Yeah.
But so many but even then, okay, they fell victim to illusion. And what to speak of these great souls who really didn't, who just really gave their lives entirely. And they're people whose minds are just so prone
to find fault and criticize.
Finding fault and criticizing because it has a psychological effect where it makes them feel righteous and like a warrior for truth or something like that. It's so sad.
So sick. Yeah. All right, let's get into the Bhagavatam. Ready? Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhakti bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to your heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Madatam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. I love this entire culture we're part of.
Okay, just
I do. I really do. I love everything about it.
I saw the video that you posted that Krishna Murari Goswami was speaking about the man that dresses up like Lord Shiva and comes to the festival. And
Oh,
comes to
yeah. If you
Narada's
missed our
hut to-
Monday interview with Krishnamari Goswami, he talked about a local man who, as his service, reenacts the pastime of dressing like Shiva and tries to get in to see Krishna. Mother Yashoda would chase him away. And then finally, Krishna, every time he'd get chased away, Krishna would cry. And then they realized that this man who's coming to the temple is actually Lord Shiva. So this local man every year dresses like Shiva and enacts that pastime.
cries not being allowed because Krishna's mother says, "Oh, this man's got snakes all over him and ashes." And he's like, "I can't show him to Krishna. Little boy will be frightened." Fine. So he's crying that he can't see Krishna. And then when he does see Krishna, then he cries again.
Tears of
and
joy.
there's a video of that man just sitting there like in this whole Lord Shiva outfit crying.
Like if you were like an American seeing this guy, it looks so crazy. But for us who know that story, it's such a beautiful thing. And I sent it to Kastuba and I said, "This is my retirement plan."
Yeah, I'm gonna cry.
Dressed
up
up
like Lord
Shiva
Shiva.
and go see Nanda, go to Nanda Bhavan to see baby Krishna.
Yeah.
Krishna. He looked like a very joyful man, didn't he?
He was beautiful.
I love this culture. Culture where you could just dress up like the gods and goddesses and reenact pastimes. Okay, we're on Canto 7, Chapter 15, text 48 and 49.
Quick recap.
Quick. We're at
So
47
in
already.
his wrapping everything up, Narada, in speaking to Yudhishthira, he's saying essentially there are two paths to life, and even two paths given in the Vedic literature. One where you're pursuing materialistic gratification,
Okay.
right? And that's called pravritti, right? Pro-vritti, pro-materialistic engagement. And the other path is called nivritti, anti-materialistic engagement.
So the pravritti, because this is a path. As we explained
There's a
yesterday,
pious way to pursue
to go
materialism, which will help you take a step forward.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to hear about that pravritti marg, the path of materialistic engagement. Materialistic in a healthy way, but in a somewhat healthy way.
The ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices known as Agni Hotra Yagya, there's the fire sacrifice,
Yeah,
or the Darsha Yagya.
don't
I
know
don't know
that
what
one.
Darsha is. Purnamas Yagya.
Oh, okay. Purnamas.
Chaturmas.
Full
right,
month
the full,
yagna.
the full month Yagya, right?
Chaturmas,
Chaturmas,
4
the
months.
4 month Yagya. The Pashu Yagya, that's the animal Yagya.
Animal sacrifice.
The Soma Yagya, that's the moon sacrifice, are all symptomized by the killing of animals and the burning of many valuables, especially food grains, all for the fulfillment of the material desires and creation of anxiety.
Okay, so now
It's interesting.
Narada's
That's what they've done that. They did that all over the world too. They've always sacrificed animals on altars.
it's always there's something like this.
There's something like this. Like the religion must have been one at one time or passed around the world, because you hear about South America this is happening, and the Middle East this was happening.
It's there in the Bible.
Yeah. Okay, performing such sacrifices, worshiping Vaishvadev, and performing the ceremony of Baliharana, which all supposedly constitute the goal of life, as well as constructing temples for demigods, building resting houses and gardens,
Now the
digging
pious
well.
works are coming up. The
These
things
are
that you can do
these
with
are
your
like
wealth to serve
good
others.
contributing to society, right? You dig a well, so there's, oh look, a public drinking fountain,
We need that.
right? Oh, a garden where people can sit in peace. For the just establishing booths for distribution of food. Oh, a booth. And
Yes.
performing activities of public welfare. These are all symptomized by attachment to material desires.
Okay. So
You're
he's
doing good to get a good result.
exactly. I want to enjoy this material world, and my path for doing that efficiently and effectively is to be good in this world, do the rituals that express gratitude towards the gods, give of my wealth so that I'll receive even more back. I'll get it 10 times back in the next life.
Sometimes we have a teenager that does something like, "Hey, Dad, I cleaned out the car for you." I was like, "Oh, thank you." And you're like, "Yeah, Dad, and I put some nice slick stuff on the tires. It looks pretty nice." Oh, thanks a lot. And I vacuumed out the trunk too. I appreciate that. He's like, "Can I borrow the car, Dad?"
Okay,
You know,
right
it's like I'm doing
there.
some work. I'm doing some stuff, but I want something in return.
It's not fully evolved. It's somewhat evolved.
It's evolved. It's like you
He
did
didn't
some
just
work. You
steal the
didn't just
money
steal the car.
or steal the money from you. He tried
Right.
to get the money through satisfying you through action. That's why it's called the path of karma. He did actions to get reactions.
Well, sometimes there's like kids. Let's stay with this teenage example. Sometimes there's a kid who's just like, "What? I can't use the car? What? What's the big deal? It's our car." No, it's my car.
You had
I
nothing to do.
allow you to use it. It's my insurance. I pay for the maintenance. I pay for the gas, stuff like that. So when you're just taking it upon yourself, that's full-blown materialism. When
Right.
you're playing this bartering game with the higher authority, that's called karma yoga. I got a really nice one the other day. My son called me on John Mastami. He's like, "Hey, Dad, happy John Mastami." First thing in my mind was, what does this kid want? Which I don't mind. The kid, you know, happy John Mastami. I was like, all right, happy John. What are you doing, John Mastami? Have that little conversation. I was like, can I get you something? Do you need something? He goes, no, I just wanted to say happy John Mastami. And I was like, that's bhakti yoga right there. That's bhakti yoga. He
He's
didn't want
worshiping me.
anything. He just called.
Without any ulterior motive.
He just called to say happy John Mastami. I was like, he didn't want anything back. Okay,
Yeah.
so yes,
And so we might hear this verse and say, you know what? Not only have I never heard of any of these rituals, I'm never going to perform it. Is this at all relevant to me? But the fact is, it's very relevant. Narada is speaking to someone within the context of the Vedic culture, and he's pointing out, and of course, this is Vyasadeva framing this so that we will not misunderstand his broader message across all the Vedic literature, that what's taught in the early Vedas, right, the four Vedas, about that's called the karma kanda, the karma division of Vyasadeva's works, that deal with do good work, get good pleasing results, enjoy the world. He's saying that leads to anxiety. And we may not be doing all these rituals, but we may have that attitude. If our attitude is that the goal of this life is to enjoy the things of this world and let me perform actions so that I get the right results for the enjoyment of this world, that is a formula, that is a recipe for anxiety. It does not deliver. He's saying the Pravriti Marg will not deliver.
it's trying to give you
Whether it's
shortcut.
the detailed Vedic presentation or just our totally loose Western adaptation.
Our Western
Neither will work.
adaptation, do good things, be good, do good, be good. You know, um, it's all got to be tied in with bhakti, or else it's just good in the material world. You'll get some good result,
And
but
you
it will
get the
still,
anxiety when you lose that result.
yeah, yeah. All right, let's try to read these two, 50 and 51. My dear King Eustace, when oblations of ghee and food grains like barley and sesame are offered in the sacrifice, they turn into celestial smoke, which carries one to successively higher planetary systems like the kingdoms of Duma, Ratri, Krishna Paksha, Dakshinam, and ultimately the moon.
The moon.
The moon's a heaven. That's what they say.
So there's kind of a metaphor being used here that like, okay, there's smoke when you do this ritual. And in a sense, that smoke is, you see the smoke rise. In a sense, we will rise also to these higher planetary plateaus where great enjoyment will be there if we make this life a life where we engage
mean,
in sacrifice.
I gave that whole analogy of like, okay, I've got more money and then I got a bigger house and I got a nicer car and I got a bigger house again and I got a nicer car and I changed my neighborhood. I got now it's even bigger. And now I'm getting a boat and now I'm getting another car and then I'm getting a motorcycle and it just keeps expanding. But guess what? It expands for one who knows and one who's a little bit more metaphysically inclined. It expands to higher planets.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? And the Vedas have this whole thing where you can expand this to higher planets,
Think on
or
a higher
even on this
level.
even on this planet, mystical powers, refined sense gratification, you know. Okay.
Well, it's interesting that you're saying that because really what we'll see, the path of Pravriti marg, of trying to enjoy the material, as you're saying, it's always expanding. Whereas the path of Nivriti marg means on the materialistic level, we're reducing.
Right.
It's
Very
very
interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
I wonder how much sense gratification can you like, what's the edge of sense gratification? You're like, oh my God, this is incredible. You know what I mean? Like, what is it like? Because we've only had really dull, gross sense gratification that ends like in material sex. Like, okay, that's it. That's the highest. What is it? What's refined?
That the beauty of the women and the heavenly damsels
It must be all ego, right?
makes the most beautiful women of earth appear like frogs.
Well, it doesn't have to be women. It could be
No,
food.
I'm giving you one example.
Okay.
Take it in.
All right. So what does that mean? They all love you. All these very, very heavenly damsels like love me or like, oh, they want me. Is it
Well, no, what it's saying is that the sense
my
gratification of this
ego?
world
They're like, you're the
is
coolest, rocking off. All these heavenly damsels are like flapping their wings around me. They're like bird women.
what? You strange ideas. No, but like, okay, he lost it. What is the matter with this guy, Mara?
I think he's gone. The bird women got him.
Take a deep breath there, guy.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out like what's next. Like we've had sense gratification. I will say, since I've been coming to the Krishna consciousness, even your sense gratification is better. Like we've eaten such incredible foods, like from different cultures around India, where you get these like very refined people cooking you these foods. Like, wow, right there, I've never tasted anything like this. And then then you have like some sublime happiness. I was like, where does it go from here for the senses? It goes to bird women.
Well, you need to have senses that are capable of experiencing more. And then you can experience the more.
Yeah, you must get a body that can enjoy more.
Subtle body.
It must be ego. Maybe it's the ego. I've got to think deeply about this. Where is sense gratification? It all must be ultimately some type of mental concoction.
Well,
Anyway,
in what sense it is. But, imagine like hear music, like, we might hear some music and then you go, like sometimes people go to a concert of a band that just like, that band means everything to them and they hear that music and they get so elated that like, that was the best moment of my life, like that right there.
Or musicians in a band where you're grooving or like a drum circle where you're just sort of dancing. That could be sort of it. It could be musical.
But what I'm saying is, let's say someone does that here on the earthly planet. We go to the Coldplay concert or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And then we're like, wow, this is ecstasy. and then, but that would appear like just totally pale compared to the experience that you would hear when you heard the music of the Gandharvas in the heavens, that you would feel like such a sublime musical experience that you just could not put it into words. And it just would be a feeling of joy that would just make all the things of this world seem very insignificant. It would be like almost like stepping out of like a black and white world into a full, multicolored, sensational kind of experience. It's just something way, 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 way beyond.
Yes. Should I just finish this verse? Or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, however, the performers of sacrifice descend again to earth, meaning you come down from it. You come down from the high, right? We're talking about going to the heavens, but then you come down. Then, however, the performers of the sacrifice descend again to the earth to become herbs, creepers, vegetables, and food grains. These are eaten by different living entities and turned into semen, which is injected into female bodies. What?
Oh God, pull yourself together. Pull yourself together.
What am I reading?
It's simple. It's not so
Plus
hard to
one
understand.
takes birth again and again. What is it? To explain what I just read.
He's saying that, first of all, let me give the context of this, why it's being said, right?
Okay.
We, again, like in the previous verse, I'm not going to do all those rituals. Okay, but try to understand the principle. Here, there's a principle being spoken about. This is illustrating the principle on the macro level, right? On the macro level, you could rise to the heavenly planets and enjoy like crazy, but understand that woven into the path of material enjoyment, even on the macro level, even on the highest level, there's always the downfall. There's always the letdown. It's inescapable. It brings anxiety. It brings suffering. Even if you go to the top, you come back down, your little soul will end up in a plant that'll be eaten by an animal,
Gotcha.
or that'll be injected into a female, and you'll take birth, and you're right back here again. Here you are again.
Right. So it's a
It's
circle.
showing how vulnerable you are.
You're vulnerable. It's a circle of repeated enjoyment and distress and gain and loss.
And so if that's taking place on the macro level, if even on the macro level, even if the highest level of material enjoyment cannot escape the fact that letdown is woven into it, then what to speak of my earthly pursuits?
Yeah.
These are certainly, why should I have a goal that my life is earthly material enjoyment? No, for sure. That woven into it is disappointment and pain and anxiety. And turn to the Nivriti Marg, where you let go of the idea that I can find lasting, meaningful happiness and satisfaction this way. It's not going to happen. There you go. Okay, Raghunath, you all right now? You okay?
Woo.
All right, bird women.
Breath. Bird women. Bird women praising me. He's so cool. Ah. Rubbing their wings on me.
Oh, someone sent a picture of
Did
Dalai Lama sent a
Maturananda
picture of
make
bird
a?
women.
Did Maturananda create a bird diagram? Okay. Okay.
All right, Mara, are there any takeaways from today's wacky show?
It was a wacky show today.
It was going.
I thought I was very,
well
very
until
controlled the whole
end.
show.
Yeah, you let it go all out.
Till the bird women
was,
came.
It was pent up, and then you let it out.
Limit material drive to bring your mind to spiritual life.
Okay.
It sounds so un-American. Limit your material drive.
Yeah.
Oh,
Restrict
really?
it.
All right.
Mhm.
I thought you should go for it. I thought you'd just do it. I thought that was our motto. Just curb it.
Regulate the senses for happiness.
Okay.
No amount of wealth or followers fills the God-shaped hole.
Doesn't matter how much.
What can I purchase that will satisfy? You want success? Well, you better invest. They're still distressed. Don't buy their lie. Money in the bank. Think you're scot-free. More anxiety, false security, the desire to accumulate. It'll never satiate. Another fish takes the bait. You know it's not the answer. Shelter, circa 1993.
Thank you, Raghunath. Thank you.
Recognize I'm a spiritual being and I need God.
Okay. Simple.
Yeah.
A heavy guru wrings out our disqualifications.
Rings
Wring
your
it out.
neck.
I'm
gonna wring your neck. Ever have your father say that to you? I'm gonna wring your neck.
Those are one of those kind of terms. Punch
I
your
never
lights out,
understood what
wring
it
your
meant.
neck.
I always thought like a ring around my neck. I was like, I don't get it. You're gonna like pull me with a ring, like a hula hoop. But as I grew older, I was like, oh, I get it, like wringing out a cloth. Oh, that makes sense. Wring my neck.
Now I get the violent imagery.
Now I get it. You're crazy. Who would say that to a child? It took me like 20 years to understand that expression.
We live to be corrected by people who care for us.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. That's the
Mhm.
caveat there.
Trying to enjoy the material world brings anxiety.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
it does. It does.
And,
It better be bird women something. No.
well, it sort of has birds. Don't feed your children's inner vultures.
Oh.
That's not a bird woman. Don't be disturbed by
Fawning birds.
fawning bird ladies.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for
Raghunath,
joining us.
today,
Bird
today I
babies.
want you to try to continue in the the Vyasa Puja.
Oh, I'm going. I've downloaded
Afterglow.
them all. I'm going to listen to them on my bike ride.